Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
This is one of those moments where you read a report twice, not because it's confusing, but because it feels unreal. The kind of report that makes you lean back, smile, and quietly say, how on earth did this even become possible? Because if the Toronto Blue Jays manage to pull this off, it won't just be a smart move, it will be remembered as an outright robbery. And here on the Blue Jays Report, that's exactly the sort of story we live for. Just when the offseason seemed to be drifting into that calm before spring training, a new rumor cuts through the silence and grabs the spotlight. The Blue Jays, once again, are being linked to a very familiar name, a player who has hovered around Toronto's orbit before, but now feels closer than ever. Not in the abstract, speculative sense, but in the dangerous, tangible way that suggests front offices are actually talking. And the name at the center of it all is Stephen Kwan. At first glance, the headline feels dramatic, maybe even exaggerated. A game-changing trade always sounds like clickbait until you stop and actually picture the fit. Kwan isn't the type of player who overwhelms you with brute force. He doesn't swing like he's trying to punch a hole through the night sky. Instead, he disarms pitchers quietly, patiently, like a chess player removing pieces one by one until the board belongs to him. Reports indicate the Jays checked in on Kwan at last year's deadline, and that alone tells you how long this idea has been simmering. His left-handed contact bat, his refusal to strike out, his ability to grind at-bats into submission, all of it fits this roster like it was tailored. Slot him between George Springer and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and suddenly the lineup breathes differently. Suddenly pitchers have nowhere to hide. Cleveland, of course, hasn't been shy about the price. The return is described as gargantuan, the kind of package that makes fans flinch before they even hear the names. Multiple prospects, at least one major league-ready player, the sort of demand that screams leverage. But this is where context becomes everything, because the Toronto Blue Jays and Guardians know each other very well. These are two organizations that don't trade out of desperation, they trade out of strategy. Toronto has a long history of making deals with Cleveland that look quiet at first and brilliant later. There's a shared philosophy there, a mutual understanding of value, control, and timing. Stephen Kwan, under contract and firmly in his prime, represents certainty. In an outfield full of question marks beyond the next season or two, certainty is priceless. Statistically, Kwan isn't flashy, and that's exactly why some people hesitate. A solid OPS, elite defense, speed on the bases, and back-to-back-to-back gold gloves. He doesn't need to hit 30 home runs because he prevents them on the other side. He turns singles into rallies and rallies into pressure, and pressure breaks teams in October. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because moves like this are the ones that shape championships, and we cover them all here on the Blue Jays Report. The idea of the cost is what makes this conversation fascinating. Names like Nathan Lucas or Joey Loperfido surface as potential major league pieces, players with value, but not necessarily franchise-altering ceilings. Add in prospects from a deep and improving system, and suddenly the deal feels bold, but logical. You're trading volume for precision, depth for balance. Look at the outfield picture honestly. George Springer isn't getting younger. Dalton Varsho is approaching free agency. Anthony Santander brings power but defensive compromises. The future is foggy. Kwan clears that fog instantly. He gives you elite defense, lineup flexibility, and an identity that matches the Jays' brand of baseball perfectly. And here's the part that makes this feel like a heist rather than a gamble. The Blue Jays came painfully close to the ultimate prize without a player like this. They reached the brink with power, patience, and pitching. Add a relentless on-base presence who refuses to give away at-bats, and suddenly the margins tilt in your favor. This isn't about replacing stars, it's about making stars more dangerous. Of course, roster questions follow. Where does everyone play? Who shifts? Who becomes expendable? But those are good problems, the kind contenders have. Injuries happen, lineups rotate, roles evolve. An outfield featuring Kwan alongside Varsho and Addison Barger could easily become one of the best defensive units in baseball, and that alone changes how games unfold late. While all this speculation swirls, the Jays keep quietly adding depth. An invite for right-handed reliever Nate Garko to big league camp may not make headlines, but it signals competition, insurance, and intent. The bullpen remains a puzzle with open pieces, arbitration decisions, and young arms pushing for opportunity. Every small move now feels connected to a bigger picture. And hovering above it all is the sense that time is accelerating. Reporters are heading south, pitchers and catchers are nearly due. If a blockbuster is coming, it's coming soon. Front offices don't like unresolved ideas once camps open. They like clarity. So here's the payoff, the question that lingers after all the noise fades. If the price is steep but the fit is perfect, do you hesitate? Or do you strike before someone else does? For me, Stephen Kwan in a Blue Jays uniform feels less like a risk and more like an inevitability waiting for courage. Let me know what you think in the comments. Would you pull the trigger, even if it hurts? Or is the cost too high? And if you want to stay locked into every rumor, report, and ripple as spring training approaches, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This has been the Blue Jays Report, and trust me, if this deal happens, we'll be talking about it for a very long time.